She's the queen of pop, but behind the fame and fortune lies a storm of passion, heartbreak, and scandal. From violent fights with Sean Penn, to her bitter divorce from Guy Ritchie, to affairs that shocked the world, Madonna's love life has always been as controversial as her music. Tonight, we uncover the explosive truth about Madonna's loves, fights, and scandals, the untold story you were never meant to hear. From the very beginning, Madonna Louise Ciccone was never destined for a quiet life. Raised in a strict Catholic household in Michigan, she developed an early fascination with love, lust, and rebellion. By her teenage years, she was already known as the girl who defied expectations, wearing clothes that shocked her neighbors, dating older boys, and craving the kind of drama that would follow her for decades. Her first real relationships were messy. Madonna's high school boyfriends often complained that she was too wild, too independent. She would flirt openly, test boundaries, and sometimes break hearts without looking back. For her, love was never about settling down. It was about testing herself, about seeing how much power she could command over others. When she moved to New York at 19 to chase her dream of becoming a performer, Madonna also dove headfirst into the city's underground dating scene. Struggling to make rent, she mingled with artists, musicians, and even a few shady characters. These were not just romantic flings, they were survival strategies. She learned quickly that sex and relationships could be as much about control as they were about passion. And yet, underneath the boldness, there was vulnerability. Those early lovers often described Madonna as both magnetic and restless, someone who demanded constant attention but also pushed people away the moment they got too close. This paradox would define every major relationship of her life. If Madonna's early flings hinted at drama, her marriage to actor Sean Penn in 1985 turned that drama into a public spectacle. They were young, rich, reckless, and addicted to each other in ways that were both intoxicating and destructive. The media called them the fire and ice couple, but in truth, it was more like fire meeting fire. Their relationship was marked by screaming matches, passionate reconciliations, and explosive fights that often spilled into the public eye. Paparazzi documented the chaos, Madonna storming out of restaurants, Penn getting into fights with photographers, and both of them refusing to back down in arguments. There were also darker allegations. Rumors swirled of violent confrontations, of Penn's notorious temper and Madonna's equally sharp tongue. Some reports even claimed that Penn had tied her to a chair during a fight, though Madonna later denied the more extreme stories. Still, the marriage became a battleground where love and hate collided. Their fights weren't just private, they bled into their careers. Madonna would write songs dripping with anger and betrayal, while Penn would lash out at reporters, defending his wife one minute and trashing her the next. For 4 years, they lived in a cycle of destruction, until finally, in 1989, Madonna filed for divorce. But even in separation, the love didn't completely die. Years later, both Madonna and Penn admitted they never fully stopped caring for one another. It was the kind of toxic love story that could never last but also could never fully be erased. After Penn, Madonna's love life turned into a carousel of famous faces, brief affairs, and scandalous rumors. She was linked to everyone from musicians to athletes to Hollywood stars. There was Warren Beatty, the notorious Hollywood playboy, who supposedly couldn't handle Madonna's insatiable appetite for attention. Their fling was passionate, but short-lived. He reportedly ended things because Madonna was too much Madonna, meaning she never turned off the spotlight, even in private. Then came rumors about relationships with younger men, dancers, models, and athletes who couldn't resist her allure. Madonna didn't care about the criticism. If people called her predatory, she shrugged it off. If tabloids painted her as a cougar before the word even became popular, she laughed. To her, love was about experience, not age. But these relationships were often turbulent. Many of her younger lovers complained that Madonna was controlling, that she demanded total devotion, and that she was quick to discard anyone who didn't measure up. She thrived on being the dominant one in the relationship, flipping the script on Hollywood's typical gender roles. Of course, this only fueled controversy. Critics called her cold, calculating, and manipulative. Fans called her a woman ahead of her time. Either way, Madonna didn't care. What mattered was that she stayed in control. It wasn't just her relationships that made headlines. It was the scandals surrounding them. In the early 1990s, Madonna released her infamous book Sex, filled with provocative photographs that blurred the line between art and pornography. The book didn't just scandalize the public, it put her love life under a microscope. Suddenly, every partner, every rumor, every whispered affair became fair game for public speculation. There were whispers about affairs with women, with married men, with high-profile stars who begged her to keep things quiet. Madonna, however, thrived on the mystery. She would drop hints in interviews, playfully dodge questions, or outright lie just to keep the press guessing. Her openness about sex, however, made her a target. Religious groups accused her of corrupting morals, politicians denounced her, and even some fans turned against her. But Madonna never apologized. If anything, she doubled down, telling the world that her love life, scandalous or not, was her business alone. In 1998, Madonna shocked the world by marrying British filmmaker Guy Ritchie. At first, it looked like she had finally found stability. The wedding, held at a castle in Scotland, was straight out of a fairy tale. Madonna dressed like royalty, and Ritchie seemed like the grounding force she needed. But the fairy tale didn't last long. Guy Ritchie was traditional, conservative in many ways, and wanted a quiet family life. Madonna, however, was Madonna, restless, demanding, and always hungry for the next big adventure. Their fights became legendary in London's social scene. Ritchie reportedly hated her obsession with Kabbalah, her controlling nature, and her constant need to be in the public eye. Madonna, on the other hand, felt he was holding her back, trying to tame the wild spirit she had built her entire life around. The marriage eventually collapsed under the weight of resentment. By 2008, their divorce became one of the most expensive and publicized splits in celebrity history. Madonna allegedly paid Ritchie over $75 million in settlement, and the tabloids had a field day dissecting every fight, every bitter remark. It was said Madonna called Ritchie an emotional child, while he called her a control freak. Even after their separation, their custody battles over their son Rocco made headlines for years, proving that even when love ended, the fights never did. If her marriage had been an attempt at respectability, her rumored fling with baseball star Alex Rodriguez brought her back into scandal territory. In 2008, tabloids exploded with reports that Madonna and A-Rod were secretly seeing each other while he was still married. The alleged affair was dripping with drama. Rodriguez's then-wife accused Madonna of being a homewrecker. Paparazzi caught A-Rod slipping into Madonna's New York apartment late at night. Friends of the couple denied it was serious, but the headlines painted Madonna as a seductress who had once again inserted herself into forbidden love. The scandal grew so big that even celebrities weighed in. Gossip columnists speculated about her obsession with younger men and athletes. Madonna, of course, played coy, neither confirming nor denying, letting the world talk. Whether or not the affair was real, one thing was certain: Madonna was back at the center of a love scandal, exactly where she thrived. As she moved into her 50s and 60s, Madonna didn't slow down. In fact, she leaned harder into one of her most controversial patterns, dating men decades younger than her. Her lovers included backup dancers, models, and aspiring actors, most of them half her age. Names like Brahim Zabat, Timur Stephens, and Ala Malik Williams became tabloid fixtures, not because they were famous, but because they were Madonna's lovers. The media called her desperate, accused her of clinging to youth. Some said she was exploiting these men. Others claimed they were exploiting her. Madonna didn't care. She defended her choices, saying age was just a number and that no one would criticize a man for doing the same. Still, the relationships were often short-lived and marked by fights. Younger lovers sometimes couldn't handle her fame, her controlling habits, or the intensity of being attached to a global icon. Some insiders claim Madonna treated them less like partners and more like accessories. And yet, each time the relationship ended, she simply moved on to another, refusing to apologize for living exactly how she wanted. Madonna's love life wasn't the only battlefield. She thrived on fights and feuds with fellow celebrities. Her most infamous rivalry was with Lady Gaga. Madonna accused Gaga of copying her style and music, sparking a feud that turned into a public Cold War. She once described Gaga's hit Born This Way as a reductive version of her own work, a word that became a viral insult. Her fights weren't limited to musicians. Madonna clashed with talk show hosts, critics, and even fans. She feuded with Elton John, who accused her of lip-syncing and called her a fairground stripper. Madonna fired back with icy comments of her own. Even her exes weren't safe. Warren Beatty once mocked her obsession with fame, saying she couldn't stand to live without cameras. Madonna never denied it. Instead, she turned it into power, showing the world that even fights fueled her image. Every controversy only seemed to strengthen her legend. Where others might retreat, Madonna doubled down, using fights and scandals as fuel to keep her name in the spotlight. Behind the bravado, however, there were cracks. Those closest to Madonna have admitted that her endless pursuit of love often left her lonely. She craved passion but destroyed stability. She wanted control but resented isolation. Her relationships, while thrilling, often ended in bitterness. Ex-lovers described her as impossible to please, a perfectionist in both art and love. Friends worried that her obsession with youth and power masked deeper insecurities. Even Madonna herself admitted, in rare vulnerable interviews, that love had never come easy for her. She once confessed that she feared dying alone, yet refused to compromise who she was. It was a paradox she never resolved, needing love but also needing dominance. In the end, Madonna's love life cannot be separated from her scandals and fights. For her, controversy was not a side effect, it was survival. Every relationship, whether it ended in passion or disaster, added to her myth. She turned heartbreak into headlines, fights into performances, and scandals into strategy. Madonna's lovers may have come and gone, but her legacy of chaos remained unshakable. If her critics accused her of being scandalous, she wore it like armor. If they said she was addicted to drama, she laughed and leaned further in. Because for Madonna, love was never just love. It was a battlefield, a scandal, and a performance all rolled into one. Madonna's story is proof that love, fame, and scandal are inseparable when you live life on the edge of the spotlight. For decades, she has been a lover, a fighter, and a survivor. Her relationships may have been chaotic, her scandals unforgettable, and her fights brutal. But through it all, she never stopped being unapologetically herself. Whether you see her as a provocateur, a survivor, or simply a woman who refused to live by the rules, one thing is certain: Madonna's love life will always remain as legendary as her music. So, what do you think? Was Madonna searching for true love, or was she addicted to the drama that came with it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the Queen of Pop's untold stories, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more celebrity secrets revealed. Until next time, remember, scandal fades, but legends never die.